evening, good evening, good evening. Let us make it public. Let us make it public. How are you doing tonight? Let us make it public. Let us make it public. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. Let's go make it public. Let's click. Welcome, 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 man. I'm trying to get up there. There we go. There we go. Let's make it public. Let's make it public. Let's make it public. Save privacy. It's public. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are you beautiful people doing? Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui. And some people call me little boy. That's Luca boy. If you're from the 767 YT Kubuli, the Commonwealth of Dominica, tall is her body. La Puente. If you're from Point Michelle, you call me Luca boy. Dominica made me. Boston raised me. Now the South sustains me. How are you beautiful people doing tonight? You know, just before we start, maybe I can play a quick song. Let's see. You know, I want to tell you guys, I love you just the way you are because you guys support me. And thank you so much.
Terrence Riley.
Yes.
Just the way you are.
Of your own style. She wants to be like them people on TV. She wants to look like them girls in the magazine. She got big dreams. She herself on the big screen. She asks, do you love me? I say you're just right. Absolutely, I love you just the way you are, girl. You don't have to change, you don't have to do a thing, no, just the way you are.
Just the way, man. I love people just the way they are, just how God made you. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui. And if you're from the 767 YT Kubuli, tall is her body, you call me Luca boy. Dominica made me. Boston raised me. Now, how are you beautiful people doing tonight? Hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing well. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. Just before we start, let's play our theme song, get you in the mood, so we can start our recording tonight. So let's start our theme song. Here we go. You don't have to be a star to be on my show, man. Come as you are. We accept you. Come, 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 come. Tuesdays with Terrence. Come, family.
Family, come as you are with just your heart, and I'll help you win. Are you rejected or hurt? To me, you're worth much more than you put in.
I don't need no superstars or movie stars.
I don't need no super, 'cause I'll accept you as you are. You won't be denied, 'cause I'm satisfied with the help that I can provide. You don't have to be rich family to be on my show. You don't have to have a million family to be on my show.
How are you beautiful people doing tonight? I hope everyone's doing well. Let me see who's in the chat so I can give them a quick shout out. Cavell Scott, good evening. Boston in the house. Yeah, yeah. Boston, how are you? Cambridge, Massachusetts. Mr. Arvin Vasa. Yes, sir. I saw your call. I need to call you back. Peach Goodwill, welcome as well. I can see 3 of my team members, man. I'm so excited to see you guys on the line tonight. And all those else who are watching, wherever you're watching from, whether you're watching from Massachusetts, from Virginia, from Maryland, South Carolina, Europe, Mexico, wherever, Canada, wherever you're watching from, welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui. But if you're from the 767, YT Kubuli, tall as her body, the Commonwealth of Dominica, La Dominique, and you're from Point Michel, aka La Pointe, you don't call me little boy, you call me Luku boy. Hope everyone's doing well. I hope you're having a great week. I hope everyone had a good Easter. Those in the Caribbean, you went yesterday, you had a long weekend. Good Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Easter Monday. You guys will probably at the beach having a good time, having fun. I saw some pictures. I hope everyone's having a great. I mean, Cavell and Peaches, you guys in Jamaica, you didn't give me no bun and cheese. Where my bun and cheese? Your vegan bun and cheese. But anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. I showed last week we talked about annuities part 1. Tonight we're going to talk about annuities part 2. We're going to talk about different ways you can use annuities as a wealth building tool and a retirement building tool as well, even on a monthly basis as well. We'll talk about that tonight. But just before we start, though, I'm looking at markets. Let's take a quick look at markets. I see that the markets are kicking today. The markets were kicking today. Check it real quickly. Let's see. All right, get my phone out. I do see that the Dow was up over 1,000 points, 1,017. The NASDAQ up 429.52. So all the money you lost yesterday, you made it back today in your 401ks, your 403bs, your 457s, your TSPs, your mutual funds, your stocks, your bonds. And it was a great day for the market today. I read yesterday, the president was talking about, he was calling them names and all that different stuff. But today, if you look at the news, he's talking about, he's not thinking of firing him. But I don't think he can fire him because the way the Federal Reserve is actually an independent body from the executive branch. And it actually was set up that way so that you can have controls about monetary policies. So therefore, for those of you who don't really understand how it works, the basic one-on-one is simply this. The chairman of the Fed is in an appointed position, but they cannot be fired. I mean, they have to do by a president. I mean, they have to do something like illegal or immoral or something like that, or they can resign. It's kind of like the chairman, another chairman, the Supreme Court. Those guys are there for a lifetime, but the chairman of the Fed, they get a term. I think they get a 4-year term, and sometimes I've seen over the years whether a Democrat, Republican chairman of the Fed. The president wants interest rates to be cut, to help with what's going on with the volatility in the markets. And the Feds, they're holding off in. I think after the election or just before the election, they did either raise some rates or cut some rates. I can't remember. But what happened? The market jumped. But what I can tell you guys is too many people is worrying about the markets. You know why? Because they say we might go to a recession. Some people think we're there, but but it's very volatile right now. China is holding strong in terms. I mean, every one of you watching my show tonight, I bet you can find something made in China in your house. Probably the dress you're wearing, or maybe the shirt I'm wearing was made in China. I don't know, or the cap, or I don't know. But the thing is, I'm not big on tariffs. I don't know a lot about it, but what I do know is that you can't use that to manipulate the economic power as well. So they have some clout. So regardless of what's going on, my prayer is that the president will listen to his advisors, and he'll tone it down. And I think he toned it down today, and the market kind of reacted to that. Yesterday, it was very turbulent. However, for those of you who have concerns about that, tonight is a good time or a good show for you to learn about to hedge against your losses. We'll talk about that. If you want to scale your retirement, you can use annuities as well. I know usually we talk about the single premium ones where you just roll over a whole bunch of money or dump in a whole bunch of money to a single premium. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But tonight we're going to talk about creative ways you can use annuities. As a matter of fact, you can use an annuity as an IRA. You can use it as a Roth. You can use it as a tool to just build deferred basis. And actually, the thing about an annuity is that if it's non-qualified, in other words, you've already paid taxes on that money, those monies are not taxed. That's your cost basis. You already pay taxes on the earnings. All right. And we'll talk about some of the nuances and variances about annuities tonight. But, for those, like I said, in the market today was very nice. I'm looking at a friend of mine's 401k, man, and it's up and like crazy. And this friend of mine actually wants to, have me move it, but their company will not allow them to. And I think companies should lobby the government to tell people, hey, what if I don't want to keep they should make it a requirement or a law that when someone reaches ages 59 and a half, they can roll over some or all of their retirement. I'm talking about the defined contribution plans, the 4Ks, 457 TS. They should be able to roll that over into some instrument or vehicle that they're more comfortable with. But however, some companies allow that. I've done that for one of my clients. You know what? I should give her a call tomorrow and see how's her current 401k doing. Because 3 years ago, I moved over 200 grand of hers, and it's protected. And she actually been using it to fund her get out of debt. A new house when she was 60, and by the time she's 70, a 30-year mortgage. By the time she's 69, she'll be debt free with her mortgages. So she's using it the right way, but sometimes it gets a little complicated for people out there. So for those of you, what I do is when I look at markets, right? I look at what some of the business stories. It says the Dow futures jumped 500 points after Trump says he doesn't plan to get rid of the Fed chief. You see, guy economics, the president of the United States have a lot of power. And what he says sometimes can draw markets. He can affect markets. So today the market was, the Dow was up over 1,000. The futures for tomorrow morning, the market opens at 9:30, is already up 500 points. So if tomorrow that's good, that would be a good thing. Also, I'm learning, and I heard today and I saw on MSNBC and CNN that in the markets, since it's trending to be the most volatile in the market since the Great Depression of the 1920s. And remember, folks, that lasted for a while, so my prayer is that that doesn't happen here in the United States. I don't want to see us go into a recession, but people are taking big losses, and a lot of people don't understand it. Cavell says, right, they had the Boston Marathon. Did you run the marathon from Hopkinton to Boston, Cavell? As a kid, I used to go down there and watch it. I've walked 26.2 miles, but I've never ran 26.2 miles. They used to have the Walk for Hunger, the March of Dimes Walk for Hunger. It used to start on the Boston Common, go all the way to Newton, Wellesley, Watertown, Cambridge, all over, And I used to do that back in the day. But I don't do that anymore. Just do my while I was walking. But anyway, my annual physical. The pounds that I lost. Remember in January I lost a lot of pounds. I lost about 10. So I've gained about 9. So I'm about 179 point something. So I want to be about 180. 185 would be ideal for me. So my arms can look like I'm popping, I can see muscles. But I've always been a thin guy. I was moving around. What I have to do now, I have to maintain, even though I'm plant based, there's some things that I do that's not healthy for me. So I need to cut back though, like salt, and I need to tone it down. I need to tone it down, so you don't want to have elevated numbers. You got to tone it down, Havis, Terrence Bardui, aka aka Luku Boy. Tone it down. So you guys are gonna start seeing a little more. Don't pull my button now, because we all have a tipping point, right? But I'm going to try to be, by God's grace, and I'm going to pray about that and fast about that, to just tone it down. Now, I'll still be rambunctious in certain things because that's my personality, but I cannot take everything personal. I cannot, have a response for everything and ready to attack. Especially I'm getting older now. I need to be more of retreat. So that's important for me. So I'm really excited about that. I thought I was supposed to get a colonoscopy this year, but it's next year, according to my doctor, because I did it in 2016. So I got to wait 10 years. Because I think if you don't wait every 10 years, if they say you don't need it for 10 years, like the insurance don't cover it. So you got to follow the rules. So with that being said, on the personal aspect, how are you all doing? How's everybody doing tonight? I hope I'm trying hard for me to zip my lips. Now that's hard for me to do because you guys know I run it. But I was talking to one of my colleagues tonight who called me, who wants me to help them with a client probably tonight, who's almost 80 years old. Excuse me, and they want me to help that client. So, and he was saying, it's not everything that's worth you. And he's correct. I need to learn to do that at home, at church, at work, at play, on social media, everywhere. I need to. Well, can you guys imagine a cooler, calmer Havis Terrence Bardui? It's just not my personality. I'm really rah. But I have to learn to tone it down. So for me, I got to learn to tone it down and cut down on the salt here. Cut it down on that, Mr. Havis Terrence Bardui. I think they say your food tastes better. And also, I need to start making my stir fries again. I used to make a lot of stir fries and, cooking. I stopped doing that. I need to get back into that as well, and I need to cut down on the processed foods as well. But on a more positive note, overall, I'm fine. I've recovered from my little illness back in January and February. I'm doing well, but I just got to watch my intake. All right. And with that being said, tonight, our program, Tuesdays with Terrence, is Annuities Part 2. Last week, we talked about what the definition of an annuity is. We talked about how some of you who have former jobs, how you should be rolling it over and protect your retirement. For those of you who are older, like 59 and a half and older, you need to really concentrate on protecting what you have. And I learned to calm down and not to get upset with people when they're not getting some of the concepts that I talk about. Because sometimes it's financial literacy, they say, is not really taught. And they said, I read an article the other day, they said about 47% of Americans, rate themselves less than a C for financial literacy. That's almost half the country. And that's not a good thing. So the key here is, what are you doing to make that the trajectory of you during April, which is Financial Literacy Awareness Month? I hope that you are doing that and that you're making sure that you're taking care of some of the things you need to do. For example, spending. Folks, if we're going to go into a recession, right, we have to cut down on spending. There's some decisions I have to make. I've already made them. But and we have to get more vigilant in our savings. We got to save more. We have to. And there's a plethora of ways to save. There's multiple ways to save. There's a video that dropped last night on my page about loans, using life insurance loans, why it's better than taking a loan at the bank. You can go on my page and look at that. It's on my WhatsApp as well. But on a more serious note, folks, budgeting is very, very, very important now more than ever. Watching a video of a young woman who monetizes on social media. I don't really do that, and I think I could, but she showed a couple of her 1099s. For YouTube, it was like 124,000, and another channel was like 87,000. She monetizes social media. That's how she pays her bills, her mortgage, and everything. And I think with people who are doing that, monetizing social media, what are you doing with your excess money? Well, everybody has play money, right? You have the amount that you spend, you have the amount that you pay bills with, the amount that but the amount that you want to protect, for a rainy day. And some of us are in rainy days, and with what's happening in the market, for some people, they have to think about, my gosh, am I in a rainy day situation right now? Did I save as much as I should have been saving? And that can affect us, right? So tonight we're going to talk about annuities part 2. All right. So last week we talked about, the proper definition of an annuity is a contract between an insurance company and an individual that promises to pay an income you can never outlive. And for people who have pensions and stuff like that, they're usually an annuity. It's kind of paying you a set amount every month till you die. While in your working years, you can actually even use an annuity as an IRA, like I said, or even a Roth IRA, or if you own a small business as a SEP. They call it a SEP, like a poor man's retirement plan. It doesn't mean you're poor. It's just, that's the name for it. You can do a SEP IRA, a small business owner, and the different things you can do as well. Many times you guys have heard me talk about using life insurance as a financial planning tool. And I'm gung-ho about that. I think, sometimes, people want to do more than they can do. But however, you got to do what you can. And I think a lot of us, sometimes we fall short because we forget that we need to protect not just ourselves, but protect our income, and making sure, just in case. There was a post that I made. If we go to the ad, it says that, what if tomorrow doesn't go as planned? Life insurance ensures your family is protected no matter what. And that's true. But for those of you, like I said, who has former jobs, you have 401ks, 403bs, 457s, and I've spoken to multiple people who have them. There's one friend of mine I can think about right now who had a very large retirement. I think they had over almost $400,000 worth in multiple accounts. And I would bet by now they've lost over $100,000 or close to in the last couple of months. Now, it's paramount and important that you make sure that you plan appropriately. So what you should be doing, or what you should be contemplating, is an annuity. Good evening, Miss Esther Duran Casimir. How are you? Hope the weather is nice there in good old St. Martin. So an annuity, now there's different kinds of annuities. There are single premium annuities. That means you drop a single premium for one time. You have flexible premiums that you monthly contribution every month into it. And also they have what they call a single premium immediate annuities. They call it a SPIA. That's where you put a lump sum of money if you have a large lump sum, and you immediately, like in 30 days, you start getting a guaranteed lifetime income for as long as you live. And, we had a training the other day, and one of our colleagues was asking, what if I hit the lottery. And first of all, um, if any of you hit the lottery, one of the first things you have to do uh, is to make sure that you hire an attorney, and then you have to talk to some financial people who would have your best interest at heart. You know, someone told me, like, if I hit the lottery, you are the first person I'm going to call. And I laughed, because if you won't put $50 a month with me, you're going to call me when you hit 2 billion or 100 million or 40 million. I don't believe that. So, because if you can't trust me with the little things, you're not going to trust me with the big things. You're not going to trust me with the big things. Essence says the weather is perfect in St. Martin. That is awesome. So you're not going to trust me with the big things. And listen, folks, everybody. I was talking to my doctor today, and she was talking to me about her husband who did some investments with, and apparently it wasn't, I don't want to say a Ponzi scheme, but it wasn't, credible. And one of the things she had asked the guy was, are you willing to lose friendships that you've maintained or created for 10, 20, 30 years over some finances, And the guy never really answered the question. And basically the thing went south. The only thing that I know that's guaranteed to pay you, guaranteed, Social Security. Are you aware of that? You're not guaranteed to get Social Security, because what if you die before you turn Social Security age? But if you have an annuity or you have life insurance, your family can get that. Whoever your family is, your spouse, your children, even a sorority, a fraternity, a church, whatever charitable organization that you want to help contribute there. So if you had an option to put a certain amount of money every month where you have guarantees, it can never go down. I tell people all the time I'm the safe money guy. And the reason why I say that is because I've worked with securities in the past, and people stuff fluctuate. And you guys are watching, for those of you who are working and you're watching your 401k every day, and some of you are crying, and well, what I tell people is, like, are you conservative? Are you moderate? Or are you risky? You like taking a lot of risk. And whatever your mindset is in terms of investing, you need to, especially if you're younger, you have time. You have time, to recover. But for those of you who are older, I have multiple clients who are older. When I say older, they're in their 50s and 60s, their 70s, 60s, 50s, and even 30s who've done annuities with me, And I think that some of you should consider an annuity. Why, you ask? Because of the guarantees. Because of the lifetime income you can get if you choose to. Because you will never lose a penny when those annuities, you have fixed indexed annuities. What that means is you participate in the gains of the market when the market is up. When the market is down, like yesterday and last month and this month so far, you don't lose a penny. You don't. It's a win-win situation where you guys, some of you have seen me post things that say zero is the hero. What I mean by that is you cannot lose a penny. So you lose zero. You lose. Now, if you're in riskier investments, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, stuff like that, you may make a lot more, or you can lose a lot more as well. We don't know how long this current financial situation will last. I'm very glad that the president said today in the Oval Office that he's not trying to, because he would have been setting a precedent that's not a good one. In leadership, you have to have checks and balances. And also in leadership, one of the keys of leadership is when you make a mistake, you have to acknowledge it as soon as you can, and then correct it. Now, you don't have to agree with all of his stance, his positions. So a lot of things a lot of people don't agree with. But today, by him saying that, look at how the market changed. Because the instability of the market right now is not just affecting the U.S. Listen, the U.S. markets, I'm going to go on a limb and say it, I believe is the safest market in the world financially. Now, you have millionaires and billionaires around the world too as well, but all of them have interest in the U.S. They have investments, they own company, they buy property here, they own homes. They do a lot in the U.S. Everybody's trying to get in, right? That's why this current administration, what they ran on was, immigration, making sure, the borders are secure and all that. Now, this is not a political post, nor is it a political live, but I'm just making a point of view. And if that's the case, there's people who are very wealthy who can afford to bypass the immigration way and do it. The average schmuck, the average John or Jane or Susie or Sally, the average person, the average us, who don't have wealth. We may have health, but we don't have wealth. We can use the same strategies and investment vehicles or vehicles that these people use. And the chairman of the Fed, Warren Buffett, all them rich people, they use these. So why aren't we using them? Why aren't we using them to the best of our ability and our knowledge? I think sometimes we're innocent of it. We're scared. We don't understand it. And I know this. Excuse me. If you don't trust what I say or you don't believe what I say, why do you watch what I say? I will give you something. I'm not following them. Even like when you're scrolling on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and you see something risque, you're not gonna follow it. But you see something good, you want to hear more. And that's what the key is here. Every week I try to educate so that people understand. So using annuities is a great way to hedge against the markets, to hedge your losses. Hedge your losses with guarantees. And with guarantees, it may not grow as quickly as if the market spikes up, but you're incrementally growing. You know what I mean? Incrementally. You're growing slowly but surely. And even if you didn't grow, you never lost. How many people all those who love losing, put it in the chat. I'm going to make a comment in the chat. I'm going to say, I don't like losing money. And some of you may have a lot of money and you can take those chances, but I don't. I don't like losing money. If you need to start considering annuities. We talked about IULs all the time. I talk about that all the time and telling people how they can do that. You need to start thinking about a different way to secure what you have. Some of you have monies in the bank. Someone called me, reached out to me and told me they have some money in the bank, 6 figures, and they want to do something and they're going to retire in 10 years. Well, I've given them what to do. I'm still waiting on them. Still waiting on them. But some of you, um, this year, you might have to curtail your spending. You might have to cut back. I see a lot of people, traveling. Maybe they planned it before, but you have to cut back. Pretty soon, things are going to get a little more expensive, especially if these tariff wars continue. And if it continues, how will you sustain? If something, I mean, I remember one of my friends, I'm going to go on her page, if I can, from high school. Let me see what she said. And this is not picking on any administration, but this is what she said. Let's see if I can find it. She said, oh no, I went to the wrong person's page. I put it up. All right, I went to the wrong person's page. And let me see if I can find the post that they made. It was last week, I think it was. No, let's see. Was it 2 weeks ago? I don't want to paraphrase what they said and say it wrongly. But it was a great post. Maybe if I can't find it, I'll have to use it a different time and find it again. Man, I should have been prepared for that. I do apologize. I'll keep scrolling to see if I find it. But getting back to the subject matter at hand. Yeah, this is something. It says Goldman Sachs says we will lose 90 billion in tourism this year. No, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. That one's more attack against Elon Musk. We don't want to read that. We're not attacking anybody today. We're not attacking anybody today. I'm trying to find it, but I will let it go. I will let it go. But basically, I'll paraphrase what they were trying to say. They were trying to say, 4 years ago, where gas was, where the markets were, and now it's a little different. Like today, feel like, but I know last year and earlier this year there was a big thing about eggs. I don't know. You guys are doing Easter egg hunts and all that foolishness with the price of eggs. But has that gone down? Folks, all I can tell you is that you have to start thinking fiscally responsible. Physically, I can't even say physically. Fiscally. You got to be fiscally responsible in terms of your fine, on how you may have to cut back on certain things. So if you didn't do certain things this year, you can do it next year if things change. Some people feel like if they don't do certain things, they're gonna have a heart attack and die. No, man. No. You have to think about, a rainy day. What am I gonna do? How am I going myself? There are some people who think like with all the volatility is a good time to buy. Yeah, but how can you buy if you don't have to buy? I'm talking about on the security side. It is a good time to buy when the markets are down, right? Because what was the rule? Buy low and sell high, right? That's what they say, when it comes to securities. But the average person, if they're not saving, what's going to happen down the road? A lot of people are using credit. And I just saw something in markets. Let me see what it says. It says, Market Watch says this: wealthier borrowers are getting behind on their debts. A warning shot for the economy. That was 1 hour ago. And this was an article in Market Watch, and And, you know, another thing, the news, NBC News, Musk says time to commit to Doge will drop significantly as focus returns to Tesla. He's returning back to Tesla because he's losing a lot of money there. People, a lot of protests, and a lot of those things are going on. But the thing about it is, regardless of what's going on with the government in the markets, you can't control that. But you can control your pockets. You can. You can going out to eat. You may have to cut back more and cook more. I know some people watching here who love to cook. I don't want to call their name out. You know, they like to make their own stuff. 3 people I can see there. You know, 3 of them from the Caribbean. And they love to make their own stuff. And you know, it's healthier. You know, you can control your spending that way. You know, going out to eat all the time is a recession may be looming. Now, it would be great if everybody could hit the lottery, right? But everybody's not going to. Everybody's not going to. And stop putting your eggs in the lottery basket. Anything worth having is built organically, brick by brick by brick by brick. Get rich schemes during the pandemic. A lot of people hit me up about these different things. They had all these get rich schemes where you give money and then somebody else collect and somebody else. I don't like no. A pyramid, all these different pyramid foolishness that they had. You know, I know the Caribbean folks and the African folks have the story, the susu, the partner, the sub, those different things. People do that. I have some family members now who still do that. And back in the day, that was there was integrity in it. The people who went there, they were honest, hardworking people who paid. So, like now, people are still doing that. You don't even know who's in it. But if somebody that you trust exclusively or explicitly says, "Yeah, people do that." Well, if you can do that, you can also build wealth by using life insurance or using annuities. And annuities are an insurance product as well. But about it is some of the ins and outs. You can get, for example, if somebody has lost $30,000 in their account and they have $300,000, I can give them a 10% bonus. They can recoup that, you know, on the back end to help with their accumulation. So I'm not here to ostracize anybody. I always tell people, you can do whatever you want to do. But I have a fiduciary responsibility to inform you of your rights and options. When you understand your rights and options, you know, then you can make an informed decision. Most people make decisions based on impulse, or if they like the person or don't like the person. First of all, you have to be trustworthy. And I understand, folks, I'm not foolish. I'm not the licensed financial professional. Yeah, I know that. Foolish. I've always known that. But I know there's some people who reach out to me all the time. They're not my clients, but they reach out to me and ask me advice. Why? I think they do respect me to a certain degree. Some of them, I can't help them where they are. And there's some still a little skeptical. I don't know what they're waiting for, but some of them are still a little skeptical. And somebody know. Although I have a fiduciary responsibility to hold everything confidential. Some people don't like doing that. And I can respect that as well. You know, I can respect that as well. But there are some people who know what, man, this guy's been talking about this stuff. I got the greatest compliment from my old boss last week. He sent me a personal text. And he also put it on Facebook. He said, you know, how long you been doing choosing Terrence know? I said, I'm going to my 6th year. He said, 5+ years. What he was saying was, you are giving people, even your clients and people, you give them information religiously every week. Come what may, you're there doing it. That's admirable. And my old boss, we used to work for an insurance company where we work on the annuity side, and our job was to conservation. We conserved annuity money. So we saved millions of dollars for that company where people would transfer out. It was my job to conserve, and that compliment meant a lot to me because it's someone who remember me being younger in my 30s and raw. I would say anything to anybody. I'll still say anything to anybody. But I think now, I have to watch how I say it. People are very sensitive, but I'm not going to not say what I have to say. To hedge against losses is a great idea. Some of you have money in the bank. You have $50,000 just sitting there, 30,000, 100,000, 200,000. Some of you got a lot, 150,000. Some of you have told me that, and I've told you what to do. Some of you have done some stuff with me. I have this one special client. I think they called me yesterday or today. I don't remember. Yesterday, I think it was. And that client don't want anybody to know that they're my client. Well, that's not true. They told somebody and they gave me a referral. But that's how they are, and that's fine. I have to respect that. But I always tell them, I'm not the side chick, I'm the main chick. Everybody got to know about me, man. So I can help people that you know. And if I help people that you know, if people trust you, if somebody trusts you about whatever, and you've done something good, chances are they want, because they trust you and they respect you, so they want to do what you do. But then again, like I said, I may not be the advisor for everyone, and because I'm not the advisor for everyone, sometimes, we may not do business together. You may not like me, I may not like you. I may not like your ways, you may not like my ways, you may not like my big mouth. But the thing about it is, the advice that I give, you can take it to the bank. I'm not about giving bad advice. You know why? Because as a fiduciary, I have a responsibility to make sure I educate you on what's best for your specific situation. And a lot of people sometimes don't understand that. They can't. And just like my doctor today, when they made their recommendation, I said, I can't overrule you, right? They said, no. I've been overruling them for years. I've told you years ago to do this. So what I'm trying to say here is the same thing with people who may know me. And I know there's friends and family that I have who they just don't want me to know their business. And that's fine. I don't have to know your business. I don't have to. I have friends and family who ask me questions all the time. Now, before I tell them, they go somewhere and do it. But knowledge, you cannot have the cure for cancer and not share it with everybody. That would be selfish, and that would not be Christ-like. So my job is to educate, inform, tell, make sure people understand they need to do some stuff. Now, some of the frustrating parts about it is like, I know I can help a lot of them, but my community service is every Tuesday at Comic Book, Instagram, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, and tell people, hey, this is what I think you should be doing, or you could do this. Are you aware that you can do this? If I was you, that's what I would do. And people are listening. Not everybody is, but people are listening. People are listening. And I want to make it clear, folks. Make it very clear. It's very important. April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. You have to step up your game. I saw a lady on social media today. She says, I I can afford to buy my kids designer stuff. I don't buy them designer stuff. I don't have a big house. I don't have a luxury car, but I'm rich. And what she was saying was she understands of a dollar. Some of us don't. Some of us, the flashier you see people, the more flashy people are, is the less they have. Wealth is quiet. Broke is flashy and loud. How many people living above their means? Homes, cars. Like they say, there's some people who borrow money to go on vacation. There's people who borrow money to party. Who does that? Who does that? I know Beth Amato doesn't do that. She sent me a text this morning or last night, I think it was, asked me some questions about her son. I gave her my advice. But she's my client. Her son's my client. Her husband's my client. Her daughter's my client. And they listen. That family listen. One thing I admire about that family, they're very close, very, very close. Nothing breaks that bond. And they listen. And they know they don't know what they don't know. And that's a beautiful thing. Erica, I'm sorry, Freeman says, yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, I saw this video what this guy was talking about. He said he'd rather have a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than have this expensive wallet or this expensive pocketbook with nothing in it. And people in our culture, especially of people of color, we always want to impress. Why is it though that we always want to impress people with things we cannot afford, with money we don't have, and even people we don't even like? If I don't like you, what do I got to impress you for? That's right, Beth Amato, all the way down there in Palm Coast, Florida, and Erica down there in Jacksonville / Tallahassee. Yeah, but why is that? But some people have good values. Erica was on my show for Women's History Month, and we talked about how her child's father put something in place. When he passed, it was sad. Nobody wants to lose a parent. I mean, I'm an orphan. My father died 5 years ago this July. My mother died in 2013. Beth Amato was at the funeral, at my mom's funeral in Palm Coast, Florida. She died in Palm Coast. But these people I just mentioned they understand the value. They understand the value of saving, protecting, not trying to impress anybody. Now, don't get me wrong. Those people are not boring. They do stuff. They go places. They go on vacations. They do stuff. But they also understand the value of rainy days. You guys have heard me said multiple times, and we only have multiple times, that a recession is a yard sale for the prepared. A recession is a yard sale for the prepared. I know Beth Amato and her family have prepared. No, Erica has prepared. So therefore, Erica says, why would I pay hundreds for a Louis bag that is overpriced and made in China with only $4 in my wallet? But I've seen that, Erica, though. I know. I remember I had an old wallet, an old Patriot wallet. It had the Patriots logo on it. And one time for my birthday, I was at Burlington, right? I went to buy some a backpack, right? And then I bought a pair of shoes because I never buy myself anything. And I bought myself a Calvin Klein wallet. Not because it said Calvin Klein, but it looked sturdy and it was pretty. It was black. but it wasn't that expensive, but it was a Burlington. If I had gone to like this, it would probably cost me an hour and a leg. But I bought it, but it didn't have to say, because the one I had no designer name on it before, but it was falling apart. And I still have it in my backpack. It's just that I've upgraded to that one as well. So guys, what I'm trying to say to each and every one of you as we come to a close tonight, you need to hedge against your losses with annuities. Beth Amado, my client in Palm Coast, she has one. What I'm saying here is that as we say we are, and it looks like we might be going into one, you have to conserve on your spending. You have to make some tough choices. And some people may not like you for the choices that you make. So what? I'm at the point in my life where I'm going to make the best decision for me that's going to better me mentally, spiritually, physically, psychologically. You know, like I told you guys today, I had my annual physical and I have to make some change. Healthy, but my blood pressure is high because I'm probably yelling at everybody too much and screaming and shouting. I need to tone that down. But it's the same thing with your savings. If, you know, or you're investing or, you know, making sure that you have to change. Listen, folks, change sometimes causes you to lose people. Family and friends. And not every family is friend and not every friend is a family. But you may have to for your mental health, your financial, spiritual health, which is the most important one. Spiritually. What does the scripture say? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul, right? So spiritually, you have to be balanced, financially, psychologically, all the different leads, you have to do it. Good evening, Carmen. How are you tonight? All the way in Antigua. You live where we vacation, right? But what I'm saying to you guys, as we close tonight, we have 3 minutes. April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month because right now I think I have an appointment in a little minute with one of my colleagues, Terry Moore. We might have to help a client. But April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. You don't have to make all the wholesale changes, but make one change. And one of the changes I think I'm going to challenge each of you guys on this change. When people ask you to lend them money, tell them you don't have it. Like your son going to jail for the rest of his life and you can bail him out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just telling people you don't have it. We're in a recession. You don't have any money to lend. Now, this is what my father used to do. I remember one time, I'm going to close on this story. When my father was alive in Boston, I remember it wasn't 20 years ago, maybe, this is 2025. So it was probably about 2008, around that time. 17 years ago, I went to borrow some money from my dad. I flew to Boston from Virginia. I usually drive everywhere, but that time I flew up. JetBlue, they had a cheap flight, I think $59. I flew out of Newport News, Virginia, I think. I can't remember. And I went up there and I helped my dad, his passport and different things. And we were at the bank getting money and I came up there to borrow some money. I saw how much money he had in the bank. Thousands and thousands in one of his accounts to borrow some money. It's an emergency. But I know I'd have the money by the end of the month. And this is what he told me. He said, I don't have it. I wanted to slap him. But obviously I can't slap my dad. I'm a respectful kid, right? I know he had it. But he said, I don't have it. It was a few $1,000s. He said, but I'll give you $200. Because my father had a rule. He will give you something, or if he lend you something that he's not going to. So don't be lending people stuff that you might be looking for, because they're going to start, because they come to you really nice, and then when it's time, they kind of ghost themselves. So what I'm saying to you for the rest of the month and the year during this recession, don't lend any money to anybody. And if they had an IUL, cash value life insurance policy, they can borrow it from themselves, from the national bank of them. And that way it'll teach them to start saving or cut back on whatever the hell it is that they're doing. So on that, I leave you to know this. Health is wealth, but financial preparation is key. April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. If you don't qualify because you have health issues for life insurance, put it in an annuity. There's no qualifying questions. There's no health questions. It could be a lump sum of 100 grand, 200 grand, a million. It could be $100 a month. If you need any help, my number is scrolling down here. You guys know how to get back with me. Facebook, because you're on Messenger. If you're on Instagram, X, YouTube, my number is scrolling. Call me and let me help you. The show is called Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is H. Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui. And some people call me Little Boy. But if you're from the 767 Whitey Kubuli, Dominica, you call me Luku Boy if you're from La Puente. Dominica made me. Boston raised me. Now the South sustains me. That's right, little boy, Luku Boy. Good night, everybody. God bless you. Hasta la vista. Make it a good rest of the week. Don't let anybody give you a 6 for a 9. Don't take any wooden nickels. And when they ask you, you don't have it. You don't have to be on my show. Good night, everybody. I love you. If what I said makes sense, you can like or share it. Good night.
Family, come as you are, with just your heart, and I'll help you win.
That's right, Erica. Little boy, little boy.
Are you rejected or hurt? To me, your word much more than you put in. Don't need no superstar, 'cause I'll accept you as you are. You won't be denied, 'cause I'm satisfied with the help that I can provide. You don't have to be rich, family, to be on my show.
Good night, everybody. God bless you.
You don't have to have a million family to be on my show.
Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. You don't lend anybody any money. You don't have it. We're in a recession. We're approaching a recession. You need to save more. You don't have it. You don't have it. Good night. God bless you. I got work to do. Peace. I'm out. Hasta la vista, babies. Mwah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.